Hi guys, welcome back to the 401 Files. My name is Ben. I create content here on the 401 Files with everything that you could possibly consider to be thought-provoking. It's an absolute pleasure of mine, as I always say at the start of my videos, to be able to sit behind this camera and chew the fat with so many like-minded people. Coming up in this video guys, I'm going to be breaking down the movie Paranormal Activity #1. As somebody who's personally grown up in a house very similar to that one in Paranormal Activity 1, I'm going to be breaking this down as best I can, relaying some of my own personal experiences and seeing how they compare. The movie was created in 2009 on a shoestring budget of only $15,000. That is literally unheard of in this day and age. It quickly became the second most profitable film of all time and is often compared to the Blair Witch Project. This is in no way a review of the movie, so if you haven't seen Paranormal Activity 1, then I highly recommend that you sit down and take the time to watch that, especially if you are a fan of the paranormal, because this, in my opinion, is the best movie to ever touch on the subject. Something that Paranormal Activity 1 did really well, I felt, was the way that they set the scene, the way they built up the tension, because that isn't fake to a real life experience living with the paranormal. Things just don't go crazy from day one. Things aren't flying off shelves and people are getting dragged out of their beds on day one. These things tend to follow a pattern, and that pattern is of slow progress, like a slow progression of things happening. There's parts in the movie where the two main characters are listening to the sound of footsteps running around upstairs. And this is something that really creeps me out because it's so distinct, that sound of somebody running on the carpet or running on the wooden floor. I mean, this is something that I heard alongside my family members as well. A lot of times, like, we'd be sat in the living room watching TV and all of a sudden somebody would say, just pause the TV a minute, pause that. So we'll pause the TV and then we hear it. We hear the distinct sound, the unmistakable sound of footsteps running around or walking around upstairs, only to go up there and find that there's nothing untoward. So yeah, watching that on the film was a very creepy moment for me, and something that made me relive that moment again. That moment as a child, looking at the adults' faces and seeing how mystified they were by what the hell was going on upstairs. There's another really creepy scene in Paranormal Activity 1 which I could relate to, and it really did creep me out, because even now I look back at this experience and think, what the hell? The scene is of the main character Katie, and Katie starts experiencing these almost out-of-body experience type dreams, like sleepwalking but in a comatose state. I experienced that. Like, one night I went to sleep and at some point during the night I woke up and was walking downstairs. Now the weird thing about this is when you sleepwalk, you're actually in your own body and you can see your hands out in front of you. I was behind me walking downstairs, and I know that sounds crazy, but I actually saw myself from head to toe walking down the stairs. My vision was like night vision, so when you see night vision footage and it's all that eerie green colour, that's how I was getting around the house in complete darkness. It's really hard to explain, and yeah, it freaks me out even now talking about this, but I saw myself go down the stairs, and when I got to the kitchen door, which was just at the bottom of the stairs, and take a sharp right, that was the kitchen door, I was now back in my own body, because I could see my hands in front of me now, not my entire body from head to toe. I saw my hand reach out and pull on the kitchen door handle, push the door open. In the corner of the kitchen on the floor, we used to put the dog's bed there. I used to have a golden Labrador called Bouncer. If you guys remember Home and Away, the old TV program Home and Away, there was a dog in there called Bouncer, pretty much identical to the dog we had. And he used to sleep in his bed over in the corner on the kitchen floor. I'm now back out of my body, and I'm watching myself walk across the kitchen floor towards the dog, and I can see that the dog's petrified. I'm back in my body, I grab the kitchen towels off the side, and that's all I remember. I remember throwing the kitchen towels in the dog's bed, and that's it. I don't remember walking out of the kitchen, I don't remember shutting the door behind me, I don't remember heading back upstairs and climbing into bed. The next thing I remember is my dad's stood at the bottom of the stairs shouting up, "Who the bloody hell's put all the tea towels in the dog's bed?" And instantly I knew that that was me, and it all came flooding back to me. But I just thought, what a really weird thing to have happened. Like, I wasn't sleepwalking as such, because at some point of that, I was out of my own body, watching me do these things, as if I was almost possessed. Little interesting side note here, that very same dog that I just mentioned, Bouncer, the family pet of many, many years, eventually ran away and never came back. We never saw him ever again. There's a scene where Katie's in the bathroom, she's brushing her teeth, getting ready for bed, and Micah's talking about how he's been around the house, shut the windows and locked the doors. And Katie replies with something like, I think that whatever we're dealing with doesn't care too much about locked doors and windows. And I think that that there is basically highlighting the feeling of helplessness, something that we, or me, sorry, and all my family experienced at one time or another. A feeling of helplessness, like you don't know what you're dealing with, you don't know when it's going to show up or what it's going to do, what it's capable of, or even how to stop this thing. They caught that really well in that moment where Katie's just there and she's been brutally honest. Like, I don't think this thing cares about those things. I had those moments thinking, like, I'll shut my bedroom door, I'll close the curtains, or I'll get under my covers. Realistically, the whole time knowing that none of that matters. Like, this thing can do whatever it wants, whenever it wants. In a lot of poltergeist cases where weird things are happening, small children and dogs are super susceptible to these different energies and emotions. It's children and animals that are really tuned in to what is going on. And Katie makes reference to this throughout the movie, being a little girl and having this weird thing follow her around or harass her and her sister. That is something that I can relate to, because being the youngest member of my family, I was the first person to start seeing things and experiencing weird phenomena. The trouble is, when you are so young, people tend to think that it's an over-imaginative mind, that you are just making this up. You're not fully sure, aware or sure about your surroundings yet, because you are still so young. And it often gets brushed off. People just don't believe young children because of that reason. You'll tend to find that there's always one dominant figure, like one character in the family or in the household that tries to explain things away, tries to remain logical at every turn. And in the movie, this is Micah. Micah's trying to debunk this at every chance he gets. And in my situation, it was my dad. My dad was very logical, very switched on, and always tried to explain things in a scientific manner. Always tried to give in a reason or an explanation as to how that was possible or could be possible. But just like the film, where Micah eventually starts to run out of steam, and he's struggling to explain these things that are happening, and they eventually start to defy scientific laws and logic. That was the same scenario in my household with my dad. Eventually, his explanations for things didn't hold any weight. I just want to share a really quick story from my time in this haunted house. This experience is creepy beyond belief. So it's Christmas Day. There's me, my older brother, my older sister, my mum and my dad. And as kids, we were always spoilt rotten. Like, we would have so many toys and so many boxes lying around on the living room floor. And things would often get stepped on, misplaced, mixed up. And this one particular year, my sister had been given a pot doll. Like, these were quite popular in the late 80s, early 90s. They hadn't appeared so much in horror movies yet, and they wasn't really looked upon as being creepy items. I'm sure some people did, but the majority of people collected these things or saw it as a good gift to give someone for Christmas. Well, my sister was given this pot doll. It was expensive and very fragile. And it had a little key in the back. And if you wound that key up, this little pot doll would move its head and play this really creepy lullaby, or like this tune. So my mum had said, look, Laura, go take the doll upstairs, out of the way of all this mess, until we've cleaned up, because it's going to get broken. So my sister had gone upstairs and placed this doll, this pot doll, in the cupboard in her bedroom. Now, just to give you a quick idea of the layout of the house, to get to my sister's bedroom, you would have to go up the stairs and turn right. Now, the closest bedroom to you on the top of the stairs was the biggest bedroom of the two, mine and my brother's. A bit further past that, at the back of the house, was my sister's tiny little box bedroom. And once you walk through her bedroom door, you take a sharp left, almost looking back at yourself, there's a little cupboard there in the corner of the room, and it had shelves and a bar to hang clothes on and things like that. Well, that's where she put the doll, sat on that shelf. Fast forward to Boxing Day, every member of the family is now sitting in the living room downstairs, watching football on the TV. I think it was Match of the Day. And all of a sudden, we hear this. Everybody immediately just is like, what the fuck? Excuse my language, but that is literally the response of everybody in that room at the time. And there's a conversation between my brother and my dad. My dad's saying, Gary, go get up and have a look at what that was. My brother's saying, I'm going, you go do it, like freaking out. Eventually, I think it's my dad that goes to the bottom of the stairs. He opens the living room door and sat perfectly on the bottom step, upright, playing this stupid lullaby is the pot doll. Everybody at that time was accountable in that living room. My mum, my sister, my brother, me, my dad. There's no explanation as to how that doll was thrown around a corner, wound up and sat perfectly positioned on the bottom step. There's no way that doll could have just fallen off the shelf. It was at the top of the stairs, right to the back of the corridor and round a corner, sat on a shelf. It just doesn't make no sense. But again, guys, these things happen when growing up in a very, very active house of poltergeist activity. I just thought I'd share that with you quickly because it's one of those things that stayed with me forever. It's one of those things that even now to this day we all talk about. It is a weird story and one that I thought that you guys would all really enjoy. I've got plenty more from this house that I want to talk to you all about, and no doubt I will in future videos or podcasts that I'm trying to line up with my brother. Me and my brother are trying to sit down and get a few of our stories compiled, so yeah, look forward to them. Right guys, unfortunately that is all we've got time for in this little short video, and it is a short video. I was inspired by watching Paranormal Activity 1 quite recently, and I related to so much while watching that movie that I just thought I would pay homage to it. And if you haven't seen it, then please do check that out. I highly recommend it. I think that they did such a great job at nailing what it's like living amongst these weird and strange happenings. So yeah, you guys have been awesome. Thank you for hearing me out to the end. Please comment below because the YouTube algorithm always loves comments. If you've made it this far, leave me a little alien emoji. That would be cool. So drop down in the comments box below, leave me an alien emoji with some kind of a comment, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can. Take it easy, stay safe wherever you are in the world. Look at yourselves, and if you are in a position to do so, then please do look after somebody else as well. Until next time, guys, I'll see you on the next one.